When it comes to trauma work and the mind-body connection, there's no psychologist that's probably more relevant than William Reich. He was 100 years ahead of his time. And I want to discuss William Reich and his concept of the muscle armor, and the case that your body remembers what your mind was never allowed to feel. In 1956, under the federal court order, agents destroyed roughly 6 tons of Reich's work, burned or pulped, and it stands as one of the only times that the US government has actually ordered a scientist's work to be destroyed by court order. So where Reich's work differs from usual psychology, he focuses on the body and working your way up to the mind, whereas traditional top-down psychology focuses more on the mind, right? The curriculums focus on what's going on in the brain, the thoughts. It doesn't actually discuss the body because obviously it's psychology, it's in the mind, is not the way that it works. So Reichian psychology focuses on the body first and how emotional repression shows up and manifests as muscular armor. You can think of the muscular armor as tension, right? When people shrug their shoulders over, or maybe they store tension in their jaw. A couple examples. That's the symptoms that arise. So Reich, he trained directly under Freud in Vienna, and he was one of Freud's own students, walking away from the mind as the starting point. Modern trauma therapy still uses that exact focus on the mind down connection, just under different names. Top down processing, so for example cognitive reframing, or talk therapy, where you literally just talk and discuss your opinions or your thought patterns to a therapist. Yeah, talking can act as a form of venting and emotional processing, but nothing's actually discharged from the body. No energy is discharged. Whereas the bottom up model, or the Reichian model of processing, is focused through body-based somatics, right? Somatics is just, the soma is just another word for the body. And I think it's the most relevant word. Starting with sensation and the feelings going on in the body. Maybe you have an uncomfortable sensation, butterflies in your stomach, or you have tension, anger in your jaw, in your hands, your fists. It could be anything. For example, the top down finds the thought of, I'm not safe. And it challenges it directly. You go, well, why am I not safe? Whereas the bottom up process noticed the held breath or the raised shoulders, leaning forward almost to protect yourself. That posture showing up as a manifestation of what you went through. The minutes before you went through that. And it works with this first. It works with the somatics, the soma, the posture, the body memory, the body armoring. It works with that first. And so by this system, it basically explains how an emotion becomes a symptom. So not a disease as a foreign invader. Think about it more of dis-ease as the body running out of places to store it, and just never having been able to finish that fight or flight cycle that it needed to in the moment. Your body never got to process that energy that gets intaken by the central nervous system when you go through something very, very stressful. And the most important part here, when you think of the word trauma, you associate it with extremely distressing events. But it is shown that trauma is not necessarily what happens to you, but how your mind actually processes it, how your body and mind process the experience that you went through. Because if you think about it, everyone's different. No one's going to process things the same. Some people might respond to adversity by working hard. Some people might respond to adversity by working on themselves and finding more of purpose in their life, maybe finding religion. Some people, they might be driven to drug abuse or alcohol, relying on substances. So it's clearly not the case that trauma is what happened to you, because essentially trauma is just the fragmented mind. When you go through, the word trauma comes from the Greek word to harm or to wound. You take that and you think about it psychologically, it's a wounding of the mind. And when you press on a physical wound, what happens? You react, you go, you flinch, right? The same thing happens with the mind. When someone pushes on it, touches it, pokes it, that's what it means to be triggered. Why do you think you lash out? You get angry when someone says something that you don't like, yet you don't know where it comes from. So you take the emotion, and because you're not able to finish that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, your nervous system in your body is going to repress that emotion, because you don't have the ability to extract and release all of that distress that your body is going through, that sympathetic state. Your body can't handle that. So it stores it in the body. It goes inwards. You repress it and you push it down. And in Reich's model here, he describes it as muscular armor, which is basically just chronic tension. So let's have the example of maybe a kid got into a fight when he was younger in school and he wasn't able to stick up for himself. Maybe he got bullied, right? You'll notice that as he goes to protect himself, he kind of does this motion where he hunches forward, and you see all the tension go up through the neck and the traps. And in that instance, he's not able to finish this response, and so it gets stored all throughout the musculature and the fascia, and it ends in him having this hunched over posture as a kind of way of protecting himself. This muscular armor is going to block you being able to be flexible. You can't freely move the body. And when that happens, you're blocking that energy. That energy cannot circulate. So the emotion is the physiological event first, right? A spike in arousal before the emotion can be named or judged, just the way you physiologically respond to it. So the repression is the decision that is often unconscious that the emotion isn't safe to be expressed here. Maybe this is you get angry in public with your parents, and you've learned that the response of you getting angry leads to your parents telling you, shush, be quiet, don't get angry. So you go ahead and you understand that the response of being angry brings about certain unwanted ways that your parents act around you that reinforces the idea that you can't get angry. You're not allowed to get angry. And this is unhealthy because you learn that you can't express this anger, and that can weaken you. And then the muscular armor is the body's way of just enforcing that decision, like I spoke about the tension in the traps of hunching over. The blocked energy is just Reich's term for the arousal that never discharged and got mobilized and therefore is stored in the body. And then the dis-ease is just what happens when it becomes chronic. And the occasional restriction becomes the resting state. Now, that leads me on to mapping the body armoring, because certain areas of the body can be associated with different emotional states. So in this diagram I've got here, let's say you take the eyes. The eyes are an external ending of your nervous system. Your eyes are an external extension of your nervous system. Anything you see, that's just information that you intake into your nervous system. And often, zone by zone, suppressed alertness or grief, a fixed unblinking gaze, or a habitually soft, unfocused look can be associated with trauma to do with the eyes. You look at the jaw, for example. Maybe a kid's getting bullied, and he wants to say something back. He wants to snap back, but he can't. Because if he says something, the teacher will tell him off. Stores in the jaw. You clench your jaw and it holds on to that anger. Words that were swallowed instead of never said. The neck can become a choke point between your thoughts, your mind, and your bodily expressions, right? What almost got said, what's held in the neck. And the chest can be guarded grief, guarded love. Since your heart is around your chest, the muscles that brace against being hurt again. When you come over, you're tight in your chest and you're tight in the back. The diaphragm, that's literally where the vagus nerve runs. So shallow breathing here keeps the whole system on alert. Lastly, I want to talk about the actual practical techniques, because it's all well and good me just waffling at you and telling you stuff. But what good is there if I'm giving you this information, you know it, but you can't do anything about it? So, TRE exercises, tension and trauma releasing exercises, specific positions that cause fatigue, maybe in your hips, your legs, until the body produces a neurogenic tremor. So you fatigue your body until it starts to shake. And as it shakes, you'll find that all that energy in the body, in the musculature that's stiff and tight, as you shake, it kind of releases it, shakes it up, and expels it. The same involuntary shake that you'll see in animals discharging a stress response when they've gone through something. Maybe they've just been through, prey has just been through a hunt or something. You see them shaking, right? That's not a coincidence. Free breathing is just allow yourself to breathe. Maybe if you have tension in your chest, your diaphragm, just allow yourself to breathe deeply, okay? Release that. Let it go. No more tightness. Yoga and grounding build interoceptive awareness. the awareness of when you're in these positions and your body is tight. You've got to hold these positions and breathe through it while it's uncomfortable. Additionally, you're also activating the parasympathetic nervous system as well. And then pranayama is just controlled breath ratios. So inhale, holds, and exhales, shown obviously to shift heart rates, getting that energy control, shifting through your system, circulating that energy. A direct lever on the same system that the whole video is basically about. And then I've got some proof here that there was a study with 50% of the yoga group no longer met the PTSD criteria. This was a study about controlling yoga as adjunctive to PTSD treatment. There is no coincidence. Everything that I've spoke about here is documented factually. It's backed up. So boys, I hope this helps you. Try something that's out yourself.